Alexa, turn on Studio PC. Turn on Studio.
Okay.
This cozy corner of my studio is where I work my 9 to 5, edit my videos in the evenings and weekends, and do a little bit of casual gaming. This corner of my studio has seen quite a few changes over the last year or so. I added some shelves with some lighting behind me, it's currently turned off for filming, which gave me a cleaner way to mount my disc plates without sticking them to the wall and peeling off all the paint. I've done that before on the other side of the studio, and trust me, once you've done it once, you don't want to do it twice. I also added some of the acoustically treated slat wall panels that everybody on YouTube seems to be using lately. Those minor changes have really helped this corner of my studio feel a lot more welcoming. But obviously the most essential part of this whole corner is the desk and everything that is mounted on it or to it. Initially, when I first set out my plan for this desk, I planned on keeping it super minimal and having as few things on show as I needed. And then as time went on, I just kept finding these new little gadgets to add or little quality of life features to add just to improve things each day. But everything I need when editing a video is within arm's reach and gets interacted with daily. Well, almost everything. There are a few little aesthetic things like my tiny plastic IKEA plants and my sandalwood and cedar diffuser. Honestly, get yourself a diffuser for your desk. It just helps to combat that smell of sweaty gamer, or in my case, sweaty video editor. But I think for my sanity, to cover everything on this desk, it will be easier for me to start from the left-hand side and work my way across to the right-hand side of the setup so that my brain doesn't just implode and get distracted jumping from one place to another. I need to follow like a set little plan. So I guess we'll start at the most exciting part, the desk itself. This IKEA Bacant desktop is 160 centimeters wide and 80 centimeters deep. I believe IKEA has replaced this with the Trotten, which is a little bit cheaper, but has squared corners instead of the rounded ones like this one. This tabletop is sat on top of some random brand of sit-stand legs I got from Amazon called Look. You can't buy them anymore, which is always reassuring. I'm a bit of a sucker for sit-stand desks, as the weight of the legs and frame just help to make the desk extra sturdy. Plus it makes doing cable management underneath so much easier. These two little drawers are mounted on the underside of the desk on the left-hand side. They're super cheap and plasticky, but they match the color aesthetic of the desk and serve their purpose. Here I keep remotes for different light strips, my monitor, and sometimes I keep some biscuits in there in case I get a little bit snacky during the day. Oreos are biscuits, not cookies. I don't care where you're from in the world. Cookies have chocolate chips in. That's what determines a cookie. I won't be having any of this in the comments. In the drawer below, I've got SD cards, USB adapters, SSDs, and SD card readers. This isn't stuff I need every single day, but I will only use it when I'm sitting at my computer, so it makes sense to have it nearby. As we move up to the desk, we have my old Lumix G80, which I've been using as a webcam for the past few years or so. It has a dummy battery and is connected to the PC via the Elgato Cam Link. Whilst the picture quality is still excellent coming out of this micro 4/3 camera, it's just not the most practical for a camera that's mounted all that far out the way. One sad thing about the old Panasonic cameras is that the autofocus is kind of laughable. It's actually awful. I can't adjust any settings without having to stand up and lean over and trying to just guess and remember which buttons I'm pressing. So that's where the sponsor of this video comes in, OBSBot. This is the OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite, a 4K webcam that packs most of the features you find in the Tiny 2, but you get them for half the price. The Tiny 2 Lite packs a 1/2-inch CMOS sensor for sharp video quality. One big thing for me is that the autofocus actually works. Not to mention, if you move around or change position, it will track your movement and follow you around the room or just around your desk. Plus, you can also use gestures to stop the tracking if you want. Just hold up your hand with 5 fingers spread and it will enable or disable the tracking. Or if you're stood a little bit further away and you want it to zoom in on you, just put your finger up like this. Then you'll see a couple LEDs flash on the webcam and you'll see the picture start to zoom in or out depending on how you currently have it set up. Out of the box, it also works really, really well. It's got great low light capability. Like I said, autofocus, auto exposure. So if you just want to plug this thing in, set it up and leave it, you're going to get a great picture. Even if you're just using the light from your monitors to light up your face in the evening, this manages to do a pretty good job. But my favorite thing is the super simple software that gives you so much control. I love to dial in my settings and tweak things, so having control over shutter speed, ISO, white balance, and auto or even manual focus is so good, especially for a webcam. And the best part is that all of your settings are saved when you close the app and shut down your PC. Plus, if you make changes in the OBSBot software, those same tweaks then remain if you use this webcam with OBS or with Teams or with Discord. It's just so fluid and easy.
Not to mention, the built-in microphone is actually pretty good. It does a great job of sort of cancelling out background noise, so you can just focus on your gameplay, or if you're doing something a little bit more important, maybe just, oh, I got hit, focus on your meeting, and you don't have to worry. This thing has noise cancellation built in, so if you've got a lot of noise coming from the background, like air conditioning or a lawnmower, this thing should do a pretty good job of cutting that out. Can't believe I got hit then, that's so embarrassing.
I'm really happy with the Tiny 2 Lite, and it also gives me the opportunity to reclaim my Lumix G80 and make better use of it elsewhere in the studio. If you want to check out the Tiny 2 Lite for yourself, there'll be a link below where you can get a discount of up to 20% off OBSBot products during their Black Friday sale, plus a further 5% off at Amazon or OBSBot's website if you use code OBSBOT24. A big thanks to OBSBot for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to the rest of the setup. Just below that Tiny 2 Lite webcam, I've got my old tried and true Behringer, I think it's that, MS40 studio monitors. These things are nearly 9 years old, but they still sound great and work absolutely fine. I do want to upgrade them down the line, but we'll save those ideas for the future upgrade section, maybe at the end of the video. Now, the most significant and maybe striking part of the setup is the displays. The displays themselves actually aren't anything crazy, but the main thing is that the bottom one is a 34-inch 1440p ultrawide, and the top one is a 32-inch 4K monitor. The BenQ monitor on the top is from my employer, as it's a great color accurate display, and the Samsung ultrawide is a pretty old model, but it's still more than functional for video editing, and I love the 34-inch ultrawide form factor, so much so that I use another 34-inch ultrawide for my gaming setup in the house. The lower monitor uses the stand it came with, whereas the 4K display on top is mounted to an extra tall monitor arm. On top of the displays, I recently grabbed this pretty affordable and super bright LED light bar from Quantis. I'm gonna say it like that because if I say it the other way I think it's pronounced, I'll probably get demonetized. I grabbed it on Amazon last week for about £50, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's got an extra light on the rear of the bar to light up the wall, and can easily be controlled with this tiny little dial. I wish it didn't have touch buttons and had a more physical dial, but for what it costs, I'm pretty happy with it. Underneath the monitors, I've got my Amazon Echo Show 8. This is super handy for when someone rings the doorbell at the house. I can see it on the screen, and then I know if I've got to run up to the door to grab a parcel or something, or if it's just somebody coming in and out of the house. Besides some voice commands and the doorbell function, it's mainly just a giant digital photo frame.
Someone is at the front door.
There you go, that's why I have it. To the left of the Echo Show is my old Elgato Stream Deck. It's handy for quickly just opening folders or adjusting the settings of my key lights I've got mounted on the ceiling in the studio. But I don't really use this for shortcuts when it comes to video editing, as I find the keyboard just much quicker to execute that kind of thing. This other circle thing that looks a lot like the control for the light bar is a little timer clock. Sometimes I struggle to concentrate, actually a lot of the time I struggle to concentrate, especially outside of work hours because I get distracted by RuneScape and my friends and TikTok and Instagram. So sometimes I have to implement the Pomodoro technique, work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break to keep my brain from getting completely distracted by just all of those unnecessary distractions. I've also got this super cheap plastic stand to sit my phone on, but I mainly use it to hide the little USB receivers for my keyboard and mouse. This other little gadget is a thermometer from SwitchBot. It's Wi-Fi enabled, so if I want to check the temperature down here from the house, I can do that. And if it's cold, then I can turn the heater on. Up next, we've got the microphone setup. I've got a Shure MV7 XLR mic mounted to the high-rise Elgato Wave mic arm, connected to an Elgato Wave XLR. If you haven't guessed it already, I kinda like Elgato products. The Shure MV7 is a dynamic microphone, like the more affordable little brother of the Shure SM7B that you see basically everywhere. I've actually got the SM7B pop filter on the MV7, as it just encourages you to position yourself a little bit further away than the standard pop filter and just makes it sound a little less harsh. I'm a big fan of the Wave XLR. The Wavelink software is super powerful, but the main thing is being able to add noise removal, EQ, compressor, all within the software. Then that exact sound can be used in every scenario, and you'll get the same sound in Discord, Teams, OBS, or when recording a voiceover. It's all just one click, ready to go. For headphones, I only occasionally use them, and they are the Audio-Technica ATH M20X. A pretty cheap pair of headphones, but they sound great for the price, to be honest, and I don't use them that often. I mainly use the studio monitors for listening, so maybe that's something I'll look at upgrading down the line. Now let's talk peripherals. For the keyboard, I'm using the Logitech G915, which is a full-size keyboard, as I find myself using the number pad for work during the day. It's a well-built wireless keyboard, but my favorite feature is the volume dial. I just cannot live without a volume dial on the keyboard anymore. This has ruined it for me. Every keyboard I will buy from now on will have a volume dial. End of discussion. For the mouse, well, I should say mice because I've got two of them. I use the MX Master 3S in white. Do not get this in white, get it in black because it just looks ugly after about a year of use because hands and oil ruin it. Just get the black one. Anyway, the main reason I use the MX Master 3S is for editing, as it's comfortable for long sessions, and the extra sideways scroll wheel on the left-hand side is just excellent for scrolling a video timeline. Plus you get that super satisfying infinity rolling scroll. It's just so good. The other mouse is a Logitech G305. Honestly, when this thing is on sale, usually around this sort of time of year, Black Friday and Christmas, it's only about 30 to 35 pounds. It has the same fantastic light speed sensor that Logitech use in their higher end mice, plus the battery is just a single AA battery that lasts for months. If you have made it this far into the video though, feel free to click that like button and get yourself subscribed. It's really appreciated. I've just hit 16,000 subscribers. Woo! All of these peripherals are set on my new mousepad from Technically Stable. I saw these guys pop up randomly on Instagram and I just love their energy. Plus, watching how they actually print these pads is super satisfying. I've got this navy topographic one that adds a bit of color to my rather black and white setup. It's super squishy, waterproof, and feels really good. I've got no complaints for about £20 from a UK-based company, plus they pack them in a cool little box with a cute little air freshener and some stickers. I already have linked the PC powering this entire setup in the description of every video. If you check the description, it will say editing PC specs, right there. But it's an AMD-based system with a Ryzen 9 5950X 16-core CPU and an RTX 4090 GPU, plus 64 gigs of RAM, a load of storage, and a power supply and a Be Quiet 802 silent-based case. I keep this system sat on these little wheels I grabbed from IKEA, as it makes moving this big heavy beast around so much easier. If I want to clean underneath the desk or just move the desk entirely, it's really easy by not having that thing stuck on the floor. The chair I sit in for probably 10 hours plus each day is this Sidis T50 I got from Amazon a few years back for about £200. It's a pretty comfortable chair for the price, but my biggest bugbear is that the arms don't quite extend high enough. So I grabbed these little memory foam cushion things to give me an extra couple of inches. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to entertain it. Then finally, the bit you've all been waiting for, let's talk cable management. Underneath the desk, I've got two power strips, or extension leads as we call them in the UK. Everything on the desk, except from the PC itself, is connected to these two power strips. I'm expecting somebody in the comments to complain like, oh, you've got two extension leads, you've got one plugged into the other one. Grow up. If you know, you know. I used to be an electrician, and cable trunking is one of the best ways to manage cables throughout buildings and offices safely. So why don't you see more people using it under their desk? Amazes me. Trunking is so much easier and cleaner to install than cable tie bases and cable ties, and this cheap slotted trunking I got off Amazon is perfect for under the desk, as you can just allow cables to come in and out of the trunking freely when needed. I've got like 9 or 10 things plugged in under this system, and you can't see any of them unless you're literally lying on the floor looking upwards. I've also got one of those extending spine things for the PC cables which come down into the system, which are ideal for a standing desk. They fold and bend and don't stretch or snag your cables, as long as you set everything up when the desk is at the maximum height. Other than that, I've got a Govee LED strip on the rear of the desk and some Govee light bars to add a little bit of extra bias lighting to the setup, so it looks a little bit nicer on camera. Now for future upgrades, there are a few ideas. I'd like to upgrade the 34-inch ultrawide to something a bit more modern, like the MSI QD OLED monitor I checked out a few weeks ago. That would have been ideal if MSI let me keep it, but it had to go back unfortunately. I'd probably like some more comfortable headphones than the Audio-Technica ones, something like the Beyerdynamic DT990 Pros I've seen, and they look super comfy. I would like to upgrade my speakers too, maybe the Yamaha HS5 or Audio Engine A5 Plus would be a good option. I also like the looks of the new Elgato Stream Deck Plus and XLR dock combo, but for £300 it wouldn't really gain me much functionality. I would also probably like a better chair with better arm adjustments. If you've got any suggestions about these upgrades, or if you have some of them already, or maybe you've got an idea what I should be upgrading to instead, please leave them in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video and a little bit of a sneak behind the curtain, that always sounds a bit weird, that, doesn't it? And if my face hasn't offended you, don't forget to get subscribed. If you want to check out any of the products I've mentioned, there will be tons of links listed down below if you want to check something out I've mentioned in this video. But with that, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for Optbop sponsoring this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers. Oh, I felt a bit sassy today. Sassy pants.